There's usually a village around a project. And I would say the biggest one, sort of the nightmare scenario, is somebody pursues an innovation, and I've unfortunately seen this happen, and it turns out to be successful. It turns out to be good, and then they remember that the original idea, happened across a dinner table 7 years ago with their, former college roommate, and now, and you'll get questions like, do I need to get a release? And the legal answer is yes, you probably do. And that sort of brings up this kind of all the human elements. Are you still friends with this person? Are they going to give a release? Are they going to say, how much am I going to get paid? What's my percentage? So, really just having people be realistic and being realistic about your environment, and how the idea evolved and what you've been doing, and transparency, even on this project. I'm not sure what Nikos' reaction was, but when I wrote him the note about the moot court project, it was like, it was paragraph upon paragraph, and he probably was like, why is he telling me all this? Because, it's a great idea. Nothing turns on it. But there was a lot of transparency in it. And that was quite intentional, so that everybody was kind of on the same page and we were all on the same side right away. And Nikos knew everything I knew about it. And I think that's really important. And that, getting things off on the right foot. And look, in our case, it doesn't matter. It was courtesy, and it was also selling Nikos on the project and just telling them, it was just verbal or email diarrhea where I was just putting everything on the page. But I think in the private sector world, that's even more important. And Isabelle knows that from some of her experiences working in teams, how important that sense of team is, and disclosure and nobody holding back. And if somebody has sort of a vested interest or needs or really believes it should be a certain way, they need to state that. Those are and you've even heard me in this conversation say, I'm an open sourcer. This is what I believe about something where we haven't made a final decision, which I also acknowledge. But at least that level of transparency, keeps trust, and no one can do any project in the digital world alone. The days of developing something in your garage, things are way too complex. And so we all need each other, and creating and being really mindful of that is important, because there are legal consequences if you're not mindful of that.
And I can't add that strongly enough. We often say in law, plan for the worst and hope it doesn't happen. Okay, I think there's so much good energy at the start of an idea, and we don't need all that legalese. We're a team, and we're like Bill Gates, and I'm sure there were lots of things that happened as they got beyond the garage, right? But you plan for that. Okay, what are people's role going to be? Who's going to have creative control? What direction is this going in? And Jon, as I said, ours was less controversial, but we turned our mind to that early, right? And that really helps out later on if there is some disagreement. Well, wait a minute, we actually have a mechanism that we thought about early on. So it's about planning for something, and if it all stays copacetic and everybody, which it rarely does, I think over time there's always one different view, and that's great. That's probably part of the creative process, but planning to have a structure in place for something that may not happen, but there's a structure there. And I would just say, on the practical side, as you're working it through, okay, not only do you have to keep an eye on the law, keep getting feedback from the ultimate consumer of it. And that's something amazingly, and this was part of my confidence. I was just sort of like, I love this. This is great. I'm the only consumer. And it was the technology people, our EML lab, and the students saying, okay, we actually have to talk to your students. You're 30 years out of this, right? They're going to give us feedback. And again, part of my journey, I was getting enthralled with the technology. The technology people, were concerned with the ultimate consumer. We need their feedback. We need to know how they were able to use it, because we're not creating technology for the sake of technology. We're trying to create a really good simulated experience for them, and we need their feedback.